Welcome to 3-Minute History with Mr. Marr. Quick summaries about a range of different history topics. Today we're going back to a significant event which took place just at the end of World War II in Britain, and this is the Labour social reforms. From 1945 to 1951, two Labour governments were involved in introducing and developing many social reforms which continue to have a role in Britain today. During the war, the government was well aware that as the war came to an end, Britain was going to continue to face problems. Many of the challenges which existed pre-war, such as poverty, homelessness and unemployment, continued to exist, and as such they commissioned a man, William Beveridge, to carry out a report looking at how they could improve life in Britain once the war ended. The Beveridge report, as it was known, identified 5 giants, or 5 social problems the country would require to face. This was poor education, unemployment, poverty, bad housing, and also poor health. When Labour was elected in July 1945, with a landslide victory surprising many people, they set about improving and changing these 5 giants. There was a number of reforms introduced by Labour between 45 and 51. The most famous of these is undeniably the National Health Service, which came into being in 1948. There was also changes made to education, some of which came from the wartime government's actions. This included the introduction of the 11+, which was a test pupils sat at age 11 to determine whether they would go to a junior or a senior secondary, and also raising the school age to 15. There was different welfare benefits introduced as well, including family allowance, which was what would become known as child benefit, and changes were made to pensions as well. In addition to this, the government is remembered for nationalising many businesses, taking them under government control, and also changes to housing, including the building of new towns throughout Britain. Many of the Labour reforms were a huge success and greatly improved lives. The NHS ensured that people now had free access to healthcare and could go to doctors or hospitals without having to worry about the costs. Education was improved for some, in the sense that people spent longer in school, and arguably, whether they failed or passed the 11+, they went to a school that was more appropriate to their abilities and their levels. The building of new housing also ensured that people were taken out of overcrowded slum conditions. And giving welfare benefits was especially important not only in tackling general poverty, but for those families who had lost husbands or other loved ones during the war. However, there was also criticisms and belief that in fact Labour did not go far enough to tackle the 5 giants. Although the NHS improved access to healthcare, there were problems, such as a huge budget increase that really hadn't been foreseen, which led to prescription charges being introduced. Many people also complained that an 11+ test was unfair, as in some ways it determined a child's life chances at such a young age. The new towns did improve lives in terms of building better housing, but they were often far away from facilities and jobs, and they required people to travel. And there was also real concerns that the nationalisation that the Labour government introduced was too expensive for the government and simply resulted in taxpayers having to keep people in jobs even though in fact their business was losing work. All of this ultimately led to a mixed record for Labour in tackling the 5 giants.